Hey everyone, welcome to another energy forecast. And January, I don't know about you guys, but the end of 2023 and the beginning of 24, really rocked me. So I don't know about how it treated you guys, but it was definitely something for the books for me. But in any case, I hope January treated you well. And we're going to look at February 2024 and actually probably just doing an overview of the year. So, yeah. All right. So, we're just looking at right now, just kind of giving you an overview of the year. And it was given to me, God, I don't even know how many months ago, that you want to start looking at life as a whole from a holistic standpoint. I received this download quite a while ago, and it's just been interesting to be reminded of it. And I actually hadn't shared it with you guys because I was kind of wanting to figure out and understand all the parts to it. But if any of you have worked with a naturopathic doctor, they look at a whole spectrum of where things actually, like the root of it. And then as you look at the root and you attack the illness or the whatever is causing the issues that are external, that we can see the symptoms, right? Once they attack that inner core of what's going on, then the external will start to show up. You'll start to see the changes or whatnot. Like, from my understanding, my experience alone has understood that Western medicine, really does a good job in many areas, but for the most part, just attacks the symptom. And even with my hypnosis practice, that's kind of where things were at. We were just attacking the symptom. We weren't really looking at the core. So when I was a hypnotherapist, we were kind of looking, because things had to be so like fast tracked and everything, we were looking at stuff just at a surface level to like help people feel satisfied with what they were going through. And it really was like ethically starting to kind of irk me a little bit, because I wanted to get to the surgical approach. I wanted to look inside. And with this download that I received, that's kind of how you want to look at what is happening globally. We're looking at things to surface level in a sense. And I know this might stifle some people, this might upset people, because I am not a politician. I'm not into politics. I do what I can to be as informed as I can. However, from my understanding, like, we're not going to know the whole picture. And that's what this download was about, was understanding that if we want everything on the outside to look like that white picket fence, like that story that we're always fed, that life could be this blissful experience, you have to look at things from a microscopic level. So looking at things from the micro versus the macro. And, that is, kind of a lot to even untangle, but just think of it in your own systems. We're going to witness, because Pluto has now officially stepped out of Capricorn, out of the old systems that we have been, out of the old paradigm that we've been really watching and observing since 2008. And now we're in this whole new paradigm where Pluto has entered Capricorn. And in that process of Pluto exiting, I received this information that was, when you want to see the humanoid type of thing as whole and complete from the external, you have to approach the microscopic level. So if we think of Earth as, how I've seen it and many times is that Earth is just the gut of the whole entire galactic system. We think of it as like a big physical body. Earth is the galactic stomach, and humans can be the good bacteria and the bad bacteria. Okay. And so you want to look at it this way as also, that systems are breaking down, are as we're going to notice on the news, please. And that's something that actually want to give you a caveat to ensure that you do your best to learn intuition and to just see, like, what the news is, you know, how it's impacting your psychology. Because just think about it this way, that you are a part of either the good bacteria or the bad bacteria of the whole galactic system. Okay. And so how we perceive our realities is either good or bad type of thing, but we don't have to. If we could walk the middle line and just understand that, I mean, I can go on tangents on this, right? So like, that's just the whole thing. So I'm not going to go too far into that. I want to stay on track because I tend to go on tangents. But in any case, when we're looking at a system as a whole, we're looking at the big systems, like really big systems like government or other things. And we're going to start seeing things like adjust and change. And we've already started noticing the breaking point of it. But if we're looking at this from a holistic standpoint, you've got to look at it as a way of get your own microscopic systems to work out. Because as we're looking at things microscopically, like in your families, even in the work environment, those are the microscopic things or systems that create the whole system. Whereas in the past, it was the big system, like Western medicine could, like and I don't mean to put too many labels on this, like I'm not trying to, I'm just wanting to make sure that everybody can kind of like wrap their minds around this download I received. So, in the past, the big systems were like, we were approaching things from a symptomatic approach, and we were looking at the thing as a whole versus going inward, versus looking at things microscopically and seeing how these systems, the smaller systems, are affecting the whole. Okay. So that's what we got to do, is kind of like a holistic approach in this year, because you're going to start noticing that in the workplace, even in your own families, even in your own homes, that there's division. And it's not because that, people are, we're so polarized. Yes, there is that polarity, absolutely. But how can we bring it together and find harmony within our own groups, within our own systems? Because as these systems start to integrate and start to look at cohesiveness and starting to look at how can we, learn to, we might not agree, just like the immune system, does not agree with invasion. It learns its attacker. It learns the approach. It addresses the attack within the body, and then it educates itself to become a better system as a whole to help the body. That's the same approach we got to kind of think of the individuals that are opposing. We've got to open our mind to not only just possibility, but to acceptance for what is, because they come with a different perspective. And as they come with that different perspective, there is some enlightenment in that. And we can, look at how we want to assess. And I'm doing this because I'm seeing like this whole picture starting to unfold, and we create such a beautiful array of a mosaic, in a sense, that once we can start to look at things from a holistic standpoint. And I mean, this is not new. This is not something that is it's not new. Let's just be real. It's not a new approach to accept people for who they are type of thing. No. But what is an interesting way of seeing things is that once we start looking at things microscopically of how the systems have unfolded, how things are in division, even within our own families, even within ourselves, actually, look at the division that's even within ourselves. And once we can start looking at ourselves as in an emotional, mental, spiritual, sometimes even physical divide, and we start to come together as a whole unit, we become a whole and complete person, then we can look at the next level is we can look at our friends, our colleagues, our family members, as they too are possibly having their own inner, you know, turmoil, their own inner division. We can start recognizing that, okay, I'm becoming a whole and complete person. That is painful for the journey in a sense, because sometimes that requires us to step away. You can see my little earbuds. Yeah, it just, you want to look at things, you want to consider, I should say, consider looking at things from a holistic standpoint. When we want the macro to adjust and to approach things from a manner that we have never encountered in our existence, we want them to come down to the microscopic. And the only way to get that going is we look at ourselves, how we're impacting the next level, and how that next level is impacting the external. So, I mean, there's just so many approaches to that in many ways, but at the end of the day, we've got to truly look at ourselves. But looking at it I mean, again, I've worked with a lot of medical, like the medical field, you know, for my own personal things. And it was just a really interesting approach to seeing how the macro is dealing with such surface level stuff. And it could all be adjusted when we start working together at the micro. Okay. So that's just this year, right? I wanted to give you kind of a synopsis for this year. Because I didn't get to in January because I was sick pretty much most of the month. It was pretty rough. So now let's look at kind of February. And, you know, in February, as we all know, February is the shortest month of the year. But this one is going to feel even shorter. I don't, you know, there was, I think it was October, even November felt so fast. It was nuts to me. And February is going to feel even quicker. I'm seeing kind of like, you know, the tortoise and the hare race, where there's going to be so many more people becoming the hare, and they are just, you know, running at full speed, for the entrance of a whole new paradigm, a whole new experience that is just understanding and trusting that, you know, we're all in the unknown at this point, and we trust that only evidence from the past has ever shown us that on some level I will understand that life comes with challenges, life comes with discomfort. So many people had a tendency in the past to kind of wave that and think that no, life is, you know, life is like what it can be in the movies. And you're gonna notice more and more people kind of coming to terms and like coming out of their comas or coming out of their fairy tales, and they're just running towards, and not a physical run, this is a metaphor, where they're running towards, in a sense of like self-preservation. I even call it that. It's like self-salvation. That's a better word. Because they're recognizing that they are their own master in this sense. And, you know, like kind of what I explain to my clients is that you are the hero of your own story. You are Luke. And, you know, somebody like me, or, you know, other individuals that do energy reads, or they do like even psychiatrists in many ways, you know, they are the Obi-Wans in some sense. And, you know, everybody needs an Obi-Wan. Everybody is their own hero. And February is really like where it's sinking in with that. So we're going to look at like the first week of February. And, you know, in that first week of February, I see individuals getting their shoes. This is all metaphor, seeing them get their shoes on, and they're kind of prepping themselves. They're like, okay, let's get going. Now, I'm actually getting the information to pause before we even keep going with that, because what I didn't say is that what has continued to come to me regarding 2024 is that this is the year of the rebel. this is the year of the rebel. This is the year of the rebellion. And so what that means in and of itself is that you're going to notice that uniqueness, individuality, and sovereignty is not only going to be within ourselves. So you're going to notice more people becoming individuals. Again, that is February where that really starts taking off, where people are like, okay, these are my core beliefs, not even just beliefs, but this is how I want to exist in the world. This is who I want in my world. And if you can't get on the boat, like, excuse my French, but shit or get off the pot type of thing, that is very prevalent, like as of right now and into, I want to say March and through May, actually, where we're getting more and more individuals are getting into the mindset of, I am an individual, I am unique, and I am not going to be part of the mass mindset. Like, I am my own person. And so with that also being said, talking about what I mentioned earlier, how we got to look at things holistically. When we're starting to become whole within ourselves, sovereign individuals, or, just unique, and, just recognizing what belief systems, morals, ethics, and values make and create who we are and how we want to exist in this experience. As we're looking at that, then you're going to notice that not only is that going to be occurring in companies, that's going to also be occurring in states. That's going to be occurring in so many ways that it's not just ourselves. Like, we're going to see it again microscopically going to the bigger, going to the bigger, going to the bigger. So the more we become individually whole, everything else expands. And so rebel can be a negative connotation in a sense, like because of how we have deemed it to be. But my understanding of the rebel is somebody who is seeking autonomy. Somebody is seeking individuality. Someone who is going against the grain because they want to be the black sheep. They're okay with it in many ways. And yes, there is a deep need to belong in the human experience. But at the end of the day, some people, it's more to feel like their own individual person than it is to be a part of the masses. And so you're going to see more of that. But again, it's not just the individual. It's a bit like they're going to be happening in companies, in the work environment. It's going to expand. So just notice that February, when you are starting to feel like you're freeing yourself of other people's thoughts about who you are, other people's perceptions, and even projections, or just what we have thought people have put onto us, you're going to be breaking free of that. And I'm doing this because I could feel the chains. I could feel I almost said whips, because I even saw kind of like whips and chains. And I also saw like cords, but just anything that attaches us to how we have felt other people have deemed us to be, how we have deemed ourselves to be in this existence. So February, it's like we're tying up our shoes, we're lacing ourselves up type of thing. We're getting our clothes are on, we're getting ourselves prepped. I think I even put it in my January little mini one, where I saw this runner just getting ready to go on this marathon, like, all right, let's do this, like psyching themselves up. And February, we're walking out the door and we're getting ready to go to that like point where the shotgun gets pulled and everybody starts taking off. Now, it just feels really interesting. So then we're looking at the second week of February. And in the second week of February, it feels very much like you're like the shotgun had like been pulled type of thing, and we're going now. And we're starting to just get a feel for that run where we're like, okay, life is a marathon, and we've got to really start recognizing like ourselves in this race, in this like quote unquote race of life type of thing, even though we're not in competition with anybody per se, but we're more of like, how are we going to hold like true and keep our stamina going as we're on this path? And again, we're freeing mentally, emotionally, we're freeing ourselves from the external, right? Because we're wanting to understand the internal, and we're just looking at how are we going to keep our stamina going for the long run. And then by the third week of February, it's like we're still kind of in that same mentality, right? Now, I know that there are moons in between the two, in between the month. I'm not really picking up on the moons right now. That would pertain to probably a little bit of a longer video. But yeah, it just like right now, it feels like the third week on a kind of surface level-ish, if we're looking from a eagle standpoint, just like observing the third week of February. Again, we're just kind of we're in that like first block of that run, of that marathon run. And then the fourth week, the last week of February, last few weeks or last few days of February, we see, like, I see obstacles occurring, and we're like evaluating, like, do I hop over that pothole? Do I hop over that branch that fell? And like, you're starting to look at people tripping and falling over, debris in the road type of thing. And we're going to just notice, and those who are becoming, or they're wanting to transcend and ascend into that autonomous way of being, they're going to be observing and noticing that sometimes those who can't, those who try, are going to start to trip, so to speak, along the way, and they're going to be like kind of navigating through. So, to get the most of our human experience, it's not necessarily to ignore those that have fallen. It's not that at all. Those who have tripped and who are injured, they will get back up again. But sometimes we can't be there to pick them up because they're not learning things. And that has been what's kind of been wrong, in a sense, that so many people have enabled others along the way. And I mean, a lot of what I'm saying today could be pretty controversial, and I apologize for that. It is just that this could lead to further discussion. This could lead to bigger conversations. And we just got to understand that we do this we're on this path individually, but we create that mosaic. And so we have to look at ourselves and recognize that, like, my fellow person, fell right there. And yes, if I feel like it's going to be okay for me to, like, hey, okay, yeah, let's get up and keep going. Okay. But if you're already so far ahead and you hear somebody fall way in the back, I'm not saying it's a negative thing to go back and get that person. It's just that you've got to assess and look at, does putting yourself back, is that okay for you? And okay, meaning, yes, consciously, like some of us might feel like, yeah, it is okay for me to go get that individual, or I don't have the stamina to go back, exert some of that energy, and then come back, because that person, I have to look out for if I'm capable of doing it. It's not because I don't care for that person. It's just that sometimes I have to look out, is my stamina capable of reaching back? If they fall right next to you, like, absolutely, like, pick them up, because it's not like, some individuals don't have the energy to go back, come back type of thing, so we just got to assess. But I'm in no way saying to neglect the person who has fallen. I'm looking at assess yourself, because maybe in the back there are individuals that can help them. So it's just kind of looking at self-assessment, and even how much have you sacrificed yourself throughout life And so there's just it's such a bigger conversation, right? So I'm just kind of giving you the overall things to start munching on, to start chewing on, and to start considering when you're going through the month, how in the past this is how it's been for you, and how moving forward, because we're no longer going to the back. We're no long not to the back, but we're no longer going back in time with how things were done in the time of Capricorn. We're now moving in the time of community. We're now looking for the autonomy, and that is very Aquarian. The water bearer is about bringing life to the community. So how can you, as a whole and complete person who understands themselves, uh, be fruitful for your community? Because if you keep sacrificing yourself to help others and it's depleting you, you're not bringing any water to the community. You're bringing an empty vase of zero water. So you've got to really kind of look at the bigger picture and seeing how much energy you're exerting. And again, it's not to be, somebody I'm not trying to say you can't help another human being. You've got to just assess as to how much you're able to give, and how much can we inspire the other person to kind of get up and say, yeah, dude, you can do it. Like, I believe in you. Do you believe in yourself though? So it's just such a bigger conversation. So yeah, I wanted to give you guys that is a quick synopsis of the year plus February. But also support me on Ko-fi, and my Ko-fi page is kofi.com/sacred path psychic medium. The reason why I chose the psychic medium is because I wanted to be able to decipher from, like the full-on artists that are doing stuff on Ko-fi, and to also stay in my lane of understanding, like, I'm an energy reader. It's not the Sacred Path Transitions on Ko-fi. It is kofi.com/sacred path psychic medium. And support me there, and I will keep bringing this content to you. Take care, everybody.